what Oprah was offering me at the time, I didn't think I was worthy of. So I had to blow it up, and I did. That's the bottom line. I didn't think I was worthy of it because I was in the doing. I wasn't in the being. And she was offering me a way of being that I couldn't receive. I just wasn't worthy.
The narrative around Oprah Winfrey being cancelled by Iyanla Vanzant centers on a complex relationship. Oprah Winfrey, despite her monumental success, has faced numerous controversies and criticisms. Early in her career, her promotion of pseudoscientific ideas and alternative medicine drew significant backlash. Vanzant's comments highlight the complexities and challenges within their professional interactions. Iyanla Vanzant is renowned for her outspoken and candid demeanor. As a life coach, author, and television personality, she has built a reputation for her direct and unapologetic approach to personal growth and healing. Her show, Iyanla, Fix My Life, showcases her ability to tackle difficult issues head-on.
Listen, you gotta stop acting like you don't know what you know. Stop acting like you don't see what you see. Stop acting like that thing, that person, that situation doesn't give you a rumbling in your gut that reveals the absolute truth. Because every time you do that, you betray yourself. And when you betray yourself, you invite others in to betray you. Stop acting like you don't know what you know.
Vanzant's boldness and authenticity have garnered both admiration and criticism, but her impact on the self-help and personal development industry remains significant.
You see, I had already been an author that had sold over 6 million books, 14 different titles. Yes, and I went on the Oprah Winfrey show, and Miss Winfrey asked me back again and again and again, and eventually I became part of her Change Your Life faculty. And it was all good. I had traveled all over the country. I had done her show repeatedly, but I didn't know my own sense of worth. I tried to live in a place that I didn't believe was true for me, and eventually I crashed and burned. Crashed and burned by leaving the Oprah Winfrey show and going on to another network and doing another show that didn't even survive a season, all because I didn't know my worth.
Iyanla Vanzant has always championed honesty and accountability, urging people to address wrongdoings directly. This principle guided her outspoken stance on her professional fallout with Oprah Winfrey. By exposing the allegations and her experiences with Oprah, Vanzant demonstrated her commitment to truth and integrity in all relationships.
It is amazing to me how many people believe that they must respond to anything and everything that seems to be going on. They measure their personal growth and spiritual prowessness by the number of adverse conditions they've been able to live through and with. Some people even consider it a measure of their faith and trust in good and God when they struggle and suffer, waiting for something better to befall them. People actually believe that if they can live through and forgive the most dastardly deeds of others, that they will somehow be rewarded with a major outpouring of peace and enlightenment. Well, this may be one path, but I want to tell you about a shortcut. Duck! I personally have learned how to duck behind God when the crazy starts flying.
Vanzant did not shy away from discussing the miscommunications and misunderstandings that led to their rift. She emphasized the importance of transparency and addressing issues head-on, reflecting her belief that confronting problems openly is essential for growth and healing. Vanzant applied this principle in her candid discussions about her issues with Oprah Winfrey.
Any other person probably would have just spent that money up and been disrespectful and probably wouldn't have even made it to Oprah. So she gets on Oprah. She has an opportunity now offered to her by Barbara Walters to have her own show. And instead of her running with it and just saying, sure, why not, and taking the show, she actually turned it down and went back to Harpo Productions and said, this was what was offered to me, but I want to stick with you. You know, maybe you can push the show a little bit quicker so I can do it with you. So, I mean, I would think that
said, no,
that's
we
honorable.
How Oprah has gotten to where she is, I often say it's show business. There's a certain amount of business savvy and a certain amount of business edge that takes place behind the scenes that we probably don't even know in terms of how Oprah has gotten to where she's going and the people that she may surround herself with. And I'm just thinking that for Oprah to get to where she's gotten to, there's probably been some times where she's had to do some hardcore negotiations, and the tactic that Iyanla used, not understanding she was using a tactic, Oprah's people might have used in another situation. So that's how Oprah recognized it when Iyanla came at her that way, is just kind of what I'm sensing.
Iyanla Vanzant often speaks about the difficulty of unlearning ingrained beliefs and behaviors, comparing it to the challenge of learning new ones. She believes that once someone has confronted their true self, they can't ignore that reality.
When you learn something, particularly if you're interested, you dive in and you get in it. But when you gotta unlearn something, oh my God. So yeah, I am a good person and I was born that way. It's nothing I had to do or acquire, and so many people don't know that.
Oprah Winfrey has addressed various allegations and controversies throughout her career. Oprah has also publicly refuted false claims linking her to trafficking, emphasizing her commitment to raising awareness about mistreatment and exploitation.
They didn't use the word sexual abuse. They implied that something inappropriate was going on. Hearing that, John Samuel, immediately after hearing that allegation, removed the accused, Tiny McCullough, from the campus. I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core when I first heard this news. And immediately within the first hour of receiving this information, Dr. Bruce Perry, who is founder of the Child Trauma Academy in Houston, Texas, and Dr. Perry informed me that the law in the United States requires that one must report, even if you suspect child abuse, it must be reported to the Child Protective Services. And so he said, if I were you, I would confirm if that is also the law in South Africa, which I did.
Oprah Winfrey faced severe criticism when allegations surfaced at her South African school for girls. A dorm matron was charged with mistreating students, prompting Winfrey to overhaul the school's staff and implement stricter safety measures. This scandal, which Winfrey called the most devastating experience of her life, highlighted her commitment to transparency and accountability in rectifying the situation.
In 2007, Oprah Winfrey opened up a boarding school in South Africa. The academy had salons and gyms in it. Allegations have surfaced that this school was a front for child trafficking. These girls would be allegedly groomed to be ready for sale. Oprah handpicked the young girls who attended her school based on physical appearance, but it wasn't long until word got out about what really the school was about. Turns out these young girls were being touched or broken in by one of the employees there to allegedly get them ready for clients. Authorities found out about it. Turns out at least 6 girls aged 13 to 15 were allegedly systematically and ritualistically targeted. Oprah went on record saying she was going to look at the situation, but after her investigation, the employee was cleared of any wrongdoing, and some allege Oprah had a hand in trying to cover it up. But these incidents continue to rock the school, including a newborn baby being found unalived at the school, which some say was for trafficking.
Moreover, critics allege that Oprah has a history of treating black artists poorly on her show, accusing her of giving them less favorable treatment compared to other guests. These allegations suggest a disparity in how she engages with different cultural figures, though specific instances are often debated among her audience and industry observers.
I heard I was trending yesterday because people are saying that I was not supporting Taraji. Taraji will tell you herself that I've been the greatest champion of this film, championing not only the behind-the-scenes production, but also everything that everybody needed. So whenever I heard that there was something that people needed, I'm not in charge of the budget because that's Warner Brothers. You know, that's the way the studio system works. And we as producers, everybody gets their salary. That's negotiated by your team. And so whenever I heard there was an issue, or there was a problem with the cars, or there was a problem with the food, and I believe that she would even vouch for that and say everybody being the greatest and rising to meet the rising of their own life. And so, I mean, all this stuff about there was something online about us being separated at the top of the Empire State Building. On that particular day, we were so cold. So I don't know what kind of body language people were talking about. I was just trying to stay warm, and that was the 4th thing we had done. And so there's no validity to there being a thing between Taraji and I.
Despite Oprah's efforts to avoid the limelight, her actions and decisions frequently draw media attention. Her involvement in various controversies, whether through her television network or public statements, inevitably places her in the news cycle, often due to perceived missteps or contentious stances.
I started out giving a week's pay.
I remember that.
Because when I had my very first job in television, my first boss, Harold Crump, called us up and gave us a week's pay for Christmas. And so I did that every year after I had my own employees.
25
2
years.
months is a lot.
It is a lot.
So we have a lot to talk to you about, Oprah. We're going to start with, because you've been making news lately about the documentary involving...
I try not to make news.
I
but
know.
okay.
I know that you've released a statement because you decided to take your name off the documentary involving Russell Simmons and his alleged abuse of women. And I think people question, why would Oprah, of all people, do that?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I have lived Me Too since I was 9 years old and was raped at 9, sexually assaulted from 9 to 14, and then raped again at 14. And nothing is harder than standing up for yourself when you're 14 and not being believed. And I was not believed by my own family.
Oprah has faced backlash from Maui locals regarding her land ownership and alleged interference with local practices. People claim her actions have disrupted the community, although these allegations are often met with mixed opinions about her intentions and impact on the island.
Being happier in the midst of an onslaught of being terrorized and vilified online. I will say this, I came out of this experience, I was saying this to Arthur this morning, with so much more compassion for young kids, because I was thinking, what if I didn't really know who I am? What if I didn't have the assurance of Invictus, that I am the master of my own fate and the captain of my soul? So all of the online, being
Slander and
attacks, lies, conspiracy theories.
Would you look at that? Friends interviewing friends. After all, it's one big club and we're not in it. Being terrorized and slandered online? There's a big difference between terrorizing somebody and calling them out on their BS. Like, you asking us for money and us saying, well, you're a billionaire. Why would you ask us poor people when you can just take care of it? Gotta give it to you, way to gaslight us. It's all our fault, and you're the perpetual victim.
Prince exposes the Hollywood industry. His insights shed light on systemic issues within the entertainment world. Although Oprah critics argue that her involvement in the industry makes her complicit to some degree.
I know you haven't always loved the internet. How are you seeing progress right now with all of that? Can you use it to your advantage?
It's a double-edged sword. A lot of artists aren't getting paid full scale for their art, and the internet, because of downloading and things like that, is kind of like a black hole, and it's hard to audit, it's hard to get accounting, and it's not that it's just about the money. And when people say that they love you and they respect you, but at the same time take 80% of your earnings, then expect you to fix your own communities, and they'll probably edit all of this out, but then it gets, that's the sharp part of the sword, and we're at the wrong end of it right now. So eventually, with courageous people going out there and actually saying something and standing up for it, I think we'll get some balance.
Furthermore, Oprah has also been criticized for occasionally embarrassing her guests on her show. Instances where she asked personal or uncomfortable questions have led to backlash, with viewers feeling that she sometimes crosses the line in pursuit of compelling television.
I feel like most of us know that people who are famous, most of them have a lot of money. It just goes without saying. Like, I definitely am not somebody who sits there and obsesses over it. It just is what it is. They worked really hard as child actors. It goes without saying they had a lot of money, and so this whole interview, she just kept talking about that, and she even got their dad involved in the audience trying to figure out how much money they were making, and I'm like, why is this your business? But the clip that's got everybody really upset is that, there was this whole thing back then where tabloids and stuff kept exploiting Mary-Kate and talking about how she had an eating disorder, this, that, and the other. Oprah has always just come off as like this sweet, understanding woman, and you have these two kids sitting on your couch. They were 17 at the time, and And if they are struggling with an eating disorder in this moment, the last thing you should ever ask them should be, what size are you? And you can see Ashley, when she asked this, just be completely taken aback, and they avoid answering the question.
Oprah's behavior and actions continue to spark discussions years later, whether through her interviews, business decisions, or public statements. Her influence and the controversies she generates ensure she remains a topic of public discourse.
Twitter has been bringing up a lot of old situations, and granted, I know we talk about this pretty often, but bringing up old situations is one of those things where sometimes it makes sense because there's some old situations like murder, sexual misconduct, where, you know, you never really just get past it and move on. And then there are older situations which are just scandals that nobody really should care about like a couple of years later because they're stupid. In this case, people have brought up Oprah Winfrey in regards to mainly her behavior a lot of the times on TV, on her show, in front of people. So we're not really talking about necessarily just behind the scenes tomfoolery. We're talking about recordings from the late 90s, I think some are even late 80s, that show her behaving in some type of way which has people worked up. Is in relation to Harvey Weinstein, Pizzagate, all of the stuff that happened in 2020, which somehow feels like 10 years ago and also like yesterday all at once. Needless to say, she is one of many, many, many celebrities that were connected in some way via pictures in public or whatever to Harvey Weinstein. Now, in this article, in fact, there is a picture of her looking towards Harvey Weinstein. As we well know, Harvey Weinstein was convicted of so much sexual deviancy, misbehavior, misconduct, whatever we want to call it.
Critics argue that Oprah's tendency to ask deeply personal and private questions of her guests can be intrusive. While this approach has led to some revealing and heartfelt moments, it has also drawn criticism for potentially exploiting her guests' vulnerabilities.
Any question that you're pestering people with, unless we're talking about like criminal allegations, which you should pester people if there are criminal allegations, I don't really understand the point, especially with something like sexuality. It's also someone's choice, right? It's not really something that most people are just willy-nilly going to share. So once you ask them and they say no, or they don't want to answer, to continuously ask is just uncomfortable and weird, because at the end of the day, if someone's attracted to men or women, I really don't know what that changes. And if it changes something, they should be the ones to decide, okay, I'm going to say this publicly on television. So I find that bizarre. And maybe it was also a time thing. Based on how culturally we change and adapt, certain behaviors were quote unquote acceptable at a time.
Oprah's involvement in discussing the allegations against Michael Jackson, especially through her interviews with his accusers, has been controversial.
Here's the reason why I'm here. In 25 years of The Oprah Show, I taped 217 episodes on sexual abuse. I tried and tried and tried to get the message across to people that sexual abuse was not just abuse, it was also sexual seduction. But for me, this moment transcends Michael Jackson. It is much bigger than any one person. This is a moment in time to see this societal corruption. It's like a scourge on humanity. And it's happening right now. It's happening in families. We know it's happening in churches and in schools and sports teams everywhere. So if it gets you, our audience, to see how it happens.
Oprah faced significant backlash for inviting Michael Jackson's accuser on her show. Fans of Jackson accused her of betrayal and criticized her for giving a platform to his detractors.
People were mad at Oprah.
I'm mad at Oprah.
You're mad at Oprah.
Yes, because I think the young black boy who loved Michael Jackson wanted to be like, I don't want it to be true. I don't want, and I'm like, even, and that, again, it goes back to like, damn, are we just turning a blind eye because we had so much love for his talent and his ability?
These critiques highlight the complex and often contentious nature of Oprah Winfrey's career and public life, showcasing the diverse perspectives on her influence and actions.
The reason why I made that, and it, like, people, like, you can read into it however you want to make, I made that to really more to poke at the media, because the fact that I'm saying we don't keep the same energy. I still ain't seen I have not seen Harvey Weinstein's mugshot. Every time a rapper or every time a black man gets arrested, where the college ladies' mugshots? The Aunt Becky and them.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.